CultureBanx Game Changers, where we're bringing you the most interesting bosses and their companies and how exactly they're changing the game. I'm Corey Hale.
And I'm Dan Roberts. Today we're talking with the founder of Esusu about his unique approach to community savings and rent reporting. But first, let's talk about the broader social savings space.
So it's a very interesting sector, especially when you think about the ways that, for me, I would easily say that when you borrow and lend money specifically, a lot of times you are kind of in your own community, right, Dan?
Yeah, it's very interesting because if you think about it, I feel like back in the day when people had these collective pots of money, they did it because maybe like they didn't trust the banks or they didn't know what their money was going to. So they decided like, how do we in our community put our money together, have a collective reason for saving and bettering our community or making sure our future is intact?
Right. And when you think about not just being able to save money or to lend it to other people, how many of us, and by us for all our viewers out there, I'm talking about people of color, have the right resources to be able to tap into?
Yeah, exactly. The idea of just getting a loan in general. There are a lot of barriers people look like us from getting financial security loans and things of the like. So it's very important to have instances or have things like this to make sure that we have what we need.
No, it definitely is. And our next guest, I think, is really going to be able to speak to this at a high level. And his company also does something else that's super interesting. Yes, everyone, that is a very, very deep tease. But stick with us because I want all of you guys to get your coins ready to save and invest. CultureBanx Game Changers is coming back with the co-founder of Esusu after this.
We know entrepreneurs are some of the busiest people around. They're hiring, they're building, they're doing it all. We've been reading a lot of cool things about your company, but tell us, who does it benefit more, the lender or the borrower?
Well, Solo is a marketplace, so it actually has to benefit both.
Rohan, Barley Sober.
Yes.
This is the company that is going to revolutionize the bar industry, not just here in the US, but globally. Tell us why. Now, there's nothing worse than having your business disorganized, but no need to fear. We are here to help.
First though, let's get started with some entrepreneurial news that everybody should be aware of this week. Welcome back to Game Changers. Social group saving methods are in full swing, and our next guest is going to take it to the next level. Joining us now is Abbey Wemimo, co-founder of Esusu. So Abbey, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, so let's start it at the very bare minimum. What is Esusu? Tell us like the basics.
Absolutely. So Esusu is a fintech platform that essentially helps you save and build credit. And the way we do that is we started this company really thinking was tackling the savings issue because folks are living paycheck to paycheck. But during our evolution, we found out that the main problem we're trying to tackle is really associated with credit. So what we evolved into was building a platform that helps you when you pay your rent, it improves your credit score. And why that's important is over 45 million people in America don't have a credit score. And if you think about the market opportunity, it represents $3.1 trillion. So that's the main problem we're trying to tackle, and I'm very excited to be moving it forward.
Abbey, I know that you kind of have a really personal connection, though, to this sort of group savings method before we dip more into what I think is the super cool thing about the rent reporting. But what, for our viewers out there that don't know, like, how's Esusu, that savings method, touch your life personally?
Absolutely. So if we take a step back and understand the meaning of Esusu, Esusu is a West African term, specifically in Nigeria, the Yoruba culture, that means if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you fundamentally go together. So for me personally, I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria, lost my father at the age of 2. So my mother has always thought education was the paramount investment in any child's life. So what she did to afford my school fees to one of the most expensive institutions in the land was pool money with her friends and family because she couldn't borrow money from the traditional financial institution. So she pulled money, sacrificed 60% of her salary to give me best-in-class education, where I went to school with the governor's kids, the minister's kids, and that's why I'm having this conversation with you today.
Wow, that is incredible, and it's so important to have like not only a mission, but have such a personal story behind it, because that definitely drives you every single day. But tell me, like, what's been the hardest part of starting such a venture?
The hardest part of starting such a venture realistically is, when you're thinking about revolutionizing the financial technology space, how people access credit, which is sort of backwards today. Being a person of color is a little bit challenging because the status quo, the precedence that comes before that, the people that build financial products like this don't look like you. So persevering on that and moving the frontiers of the business is very, very important. Number two, finding good people. You need to try as much as possible to find good people to build a great product. So, trying as much as possible to find good people in this space and having intention on being diverse, female representation on your team to essentially build something special, it's crucial.
Speaking of good people, can we shout out your co-founder really quickly who couldn't join us today, but hi, Samir.
Hey, Samir.
We're going to shout him out too.
Absolutely. So Samir is my work wife. We've been together doing this thing, for a very long time. And, without such an exceptional co-founder like Samir, won't be where we are today. So it takes good people, an amazing team, and an unwavering perseverance to get to where we are.
Wow, you seem like you have so much to share, but we're going to hold on for a little while. We've got more coming up next with Abbey, so stick with us on CultureBanx Game Changers. We know entrepreneurs are some of the busiest people around. I mean, they're hiring, they're building, they're doing it all. We've been reading a lot of cool things about your company, but tell us, who does it benefit more, the lender or the borrower?
Well, Solo is a marketplace, so it actually has to benefit both.
Rohan, Barley Sober.
Yes.
This is the company that is going to revolutionize the bar industry, not just here in the US, but globally. Tell us why. Now, there's nothing worse than having your business disorganized, but no need to fear. We are here to help.
First though, let's get started with some entrepreneurial news that everybody should be aware of this week.
All right, welcome back to Game Changers, everyone. We're still here with Abbey from Esusu, and we hinted on this earlier in the segment. In addition, right, to your great social savings part of the platform, what I find beyond interesting is the rent reporting component, which to me just sets Esusu apart from the rest. Please explain more about this phenomenon.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. So, we started this company really thinking we're tackling the savings issue. But what people told us was, if we have enough money, we would save. So the question was, how do they get access to cheap credit? Because predominantly, especially people of color, interest rates has been traditionally exorbitant. So the feedback we got is, what are the low-hanging fruit data points you can report into the credit bureau to boost the credit score? And we found out that rent represents 30 to 40% of individual monthly expenses. In communities of color, that could be up to 60%. So the ringer went off. We started capturing this data and reporting into the credit bureau to improve people's credit scores. And to tell you how powerful that is, only 1% of that data has been reported today. And we position ourselves to report this data and be one of the biggest providers in the country.
Wow, that's incredible. So there's so many savings platforms like Mint, Acorns. What makes Esusu different?
See, what makes Esusu different is really thinking about income inequality and thinking about the credit issue at the core. If we go back down memory lane, since 1619 to the abolishment of slavery.
Oh wow, you're going way down the lane. When you said we're going down the lane, I didn't know we were going that far. You didn't put us back in chains and freed us. Okay, Abby, we're with you.
Absolutely. So when we think about the evolution from slavery and the 13th Amendment to the free, what we found even when African Americans and people of color came back from World War II and then the GIB was allocated, the main source of wealth was home ownership, right? You have to have some sort of credit to get access to it. What happened was there was an overpopulation in urban areas and people had to move to the suburbs. So the Federal Housing Administration gave out grants, right, and development dollars for developers to build houses up in the suburbs. So what happened was disproportionately, African Americans were, left out, and the policy simply said, during this development, we're going to make sure African Americans can get access to these buildings, and in the deeds of these properties, they were left out. So we are trying as much as possible to really think about the systemic nature of what marginalization has done, and think about the issue from not only savings, but how do you improve the credit scores of people so we can level the playing field and give people a fighting chance?
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes perfect sense. If I was to try and, I guess, get onto your platform, a person like me, where would you see the most benefit? I mean, I definitely want to pull some money together. I'm trying to look around our studio right now and see where I can borrow money from.
So the biggest place you can get value right now is through rent reporting. So we can report up to 2 years of your rental data into the credit bureau. So right now, if you want to buy a house, for example, you might have a certain credit score, but if we add this additional data point, your credit score will go up and your mortgage lender will either give you a better interest rate. We can save you over $250,000 in interest over your lifetime.
$250,000, that sounds like good money to me.
I'll take $500,000, we can make it all the way. But one last thing, like, what's the one thing you want viewers to take away about financial freedom in general?
You know, one of the biggest things viewers should take away when we're thinking about financial freedom is, it's a journey, number one. You need to start early, be very, very tactical, and try as much as possible to know you're not in this alone. We live in a culture, especially for people of color, where we don't talk about money. It's something we need to start talking about, and how we employ continuous improvement, leveraging tools like Esusu. How do I boost my credit scores? How do I save? How do I think about home ownership? Because the earlier we do it, the better we're going to get. And like they say, little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. You start now, you can do something special as you continue to evolve.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. That's Abbey Wemimo, co-founder of Esusu, and stick around with us because we have more game changers coming up. We are going to be dipping into our entrepreneurial keys.
You're back with us on CultureBanx Game Changers. But first, let's dip into the 3 entrepreneurial keys for social savings.
Now, I love something about finance, investing, savings. So Abbey was definitely speaking my language. I think there is so much to be said about pulling your money together to not just support, as you see a lot of times, causes like charitable that could be just as simple as easily making sure that you're able to buy a home and start creating some sort of generational wealth for yourself. That's really, really important. And the fact that a platform like that is able to allow everyday people to start to build some sort of respectable credit for themselves by doing something they do every single day is something that we can all learn from.
Totally agree. So I'm so happy he was able to come by, drop some gems. But until next time, we'll share some of that knowledge with each other, right?
Yes, we will. We'll keep going. Just guess I have to hit you up for money, Dan.
I mean, you know what? I have like 2, 3. I'll make it 30.
Okay, please. Round up.
I'm Dan Roberts. This is my home grill, Corey Hale. Make sure you check out all the savvy business news that we have specifically for the culture at CultureBanx.com. Thanks so much for experiencing the social savings gems with us, learning all things about Esusu.
And be sure to catch our next Game Changers episode on Roku, of course, CultureBanx.com, and YouTube.
Everywhere.
And until then, Dan, what do we always tell our people?
We tell you keep building for the culture.
See you next time.